Hello, everybody. It's Saturday again, and I am really excited to share with you. This is Jessica, by the way, if you don't know who I am. I am a self-worth strategist and strategic life coach, and I just like to share here on my live Saturday morning videos of what I've been learning, what I've been, seeing transforming in my life, what I've coached other people on, etc. And so I want to take it back to actually last week and my really great, well, I wouldn't say it was really great, my spiel on Stop, Drop, and Pray, and also the way that we can claim victory in Christ and claim, basically focus on all the good things that happen in our life rather than all the negative things, right? And so I want to kind of back it up just a little bit because I did fail to mention a really important piece of this whole process. And so I want you to, we're going to have this really big analogy for you to imagine. I want you to imagine this garden of your life. There's the soil, there's, maybe there's some rocks in the corner, maybe there's, some beautiful flowers in one section, maybe there's a tree growing in there. Perhaps there is a few weeds. Maybe some places are overgrown in this garden. Maybe you have a beautiful, well-trimmed, well-weeded flower garden as your life, right? Like that's your garden of your life and how you tend to it. So just kind of give yourself that image, paint that image in your head of this is what my garden looks like, or this is what I want my garden to look like. But also going back, so for me, like, this is what I want my garden to look like. That would be my victory inventory, right? Like picking out all the beautiful flowers in my garden and saying, this is something beautiful that happened to me this week, and I'm very grateful for it. And so recognizing those things. But when we go back to the garden of our life, lots of times we are not able to plant the new seeds. We're not able to plant the beautiful things or to find the beautiful flowers because there's too many weeds, there's too many rocks, there's too many, things that are really deeply rooted in our brains, in our minds, in our lives, in our hearts that have simply not been taken care of. And so it is one really great thing to say that I can focus on the positive and I can claim victory in Christ and I can create all these beautiful things in my life. But when you don't take care of the weeds, when you don't root out the big, deep, ugly weeds or throw out the rocks, right? It's that much harder to sow new seeds and beautiful seeds. So there's that picture in your mind. And then I want to share two, like probably 6 months ago, I was in my garden, right? Probably literally, but also figuratively in my mind. And I was saying, I recognize all of these thoughts, all of these actions that I do not like and I don't want in my garden anymore. Like I want to get rid of them, right? And so here's me grabbing my weed eater, okay, for visualization purposes. Grabbing my weed eater and just whacking off all this stuff going, yeah, die, you're gonna go. I'm just going to be done with all of you, and I'm going to be done. I'm going to plant new seeds, and it's going to be beautiful, and I'm going to grow. I want to be exactly this person that I want to be in 6 months, and it's going to be amazing. Okay, I might be a little bit too enthusiastic, and I'm not saying that I'm not the person I didn't want to be, but the point is, for me, of like, I was going in there so forcefully. I was going into my life so forcefully and saying, all of these weeds, I have to take care of. All of these weeds, I am going to get rid of in my life, and I am going to replace them with beautiful seeds. Well, what the Lord taught me in all of this is that, number one, He's the master gardener, and He's always waiting at the edge of your garden with His gloves or whatever types of garden tools you want to imagine Him with. But He's always waiting there, just waiting for us to say, hey, Lord, I really actually need help with this, like pulling this weed out because I'm not getting it. And so imagine me going through with my weed whacker or even my hoe and just like chopping at stuff so vigorously and so forcefully. But I think we all know if you weed whack something off, it comes back. If you half hoe something off, it comes back. Like, those roots are still in the ground. Those roots are not uprooted yet. And for me to go in there with a very, very unholy, self-reliant attitude and to say, I can take care of all of these myself. I mean, some of these wounds, some of these things that we experience in our lives are so deep. And part of the process of coaching, part of the process of working through these things, that's the beauty of it, is we get to dig deeper into those things. Part of the beauty is that we get to discover what those roots are. We get to recognize and be aware of them. And so all beautiful things, right? But when we go to the point of, I have to go in there and I have to do this myself, like, we are going to fail. And I failed. I failed miserably for probably a lot of months trying to figure this out, trying to uproot this stuff simply by replacing the weeds and the rocks in my garden with new tiny little flower seeds. Sprinkle here, sprinkle there. Oh, so pretty. So nice, right? And that's what we call, like, I want to impart on you the importance of, literally, there's nothing wrong with being positive, and there's nothing wrong with focusing on the good things. All of those things are welcome and should be taken into account. But if you're in your garden weed eating and trying to whack off everything that you don't like without getting to the root of the problem, like, it is going to become a problem for you, and it is going to come back. It comes back again and again and again. We all know how persistent weeds are. We all know how annoying weeds are, right? Like, that's those things that are solidified in the 95% of our brain, perhaps from childhood, perhaps from a wound, perhaps from a really tragic incident that happened to us. They're so deep, and they take time to go through, and they take the master gardener coming in. All of you gardeners out there, or those of you who've ever pulled a weed, you know that to effectively get rid of weed, you must go into the soil and very gently kind of dig into the soil around the weed so you can expose some of the roots, right? And then you reach down and you very gently tug at it, right? You just very gently pull it up, tug at it until it goes loose. And then you kind of shake off all the dirt, right? Because you don't want it to replant somewhere else. And then you throw it off. Inviting the Lord into our garden is like that. Inviting him into our pains and our wounds and the weeds in our life. Are we going to say, Lord, I have this weed and the root is really deep and I don't know how to get to it and I can't heal it myself. I can't heal it by throwing all these positive things at it. Like, there is nothing more gentle and loving of the Father to come in and say, that's what I want to do for you. I want to take out your weeds so your garden will be beautiful. And I'm not sure if any of you have ever seen the movie The Shack. Gosh, if you haven't, I think it's on YouTube for free. Go and watch it this weekend. It literally is, it has a garden in it about, his life basically. And it's just, it's so good. It's so good. There's so many things I can learn from it. And it's heart-wrenching. It's a very heart-wrenching movie too. So bring your Kleenexes and, or, rent it somewhere. If you can't find it free on YouTube, go rent it somewhere. But it is so, so powerful. All of the things in there. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that with you. Definitely went longer today because I think it's super important for us to dig into the wounds, dig into the hurt, and just be okay with all of that, because it's ultimately, we're not going to be able to plant the beautiful new seeds in our life if we have not uprooted and forgiven and, passed on all of the weeds that we don't want, or, asked the Lord to take a rock out because it was too heavy for us to carry. And just to recognize that some of these things are too much for us to take on our own. I mean, our thoughts often have very, very deep roots and have very, very deep wounds. And that's just part of the privileged work that I get to do as a coach. And I am so grateful that I get to journey with women on that. But yes, as always, you can reach out to me if you have questions, or if any of this is resonating with you. I would love to set up a free call with you where we can talk about these things and dig deeper into those weeds in your life and see where we can make a plan and let the Lord help us dig out all those weeds. And garden seasoning is coming up, so I just couldn't help but interpret all of these things that I was hearing today as the Lord just saying, it's gardening season, or almost gardening season, and there's just some really great analogies with the Lord being our master gardener in that. So again, he's gentle, he's loving, he's going to help us pull those weeds out in the most tender of ways. And yes, I pray that you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll talk next week. Bye.